All right, everybody, we have officially reached the halfway mark of this year's Stanley Cup playoffs, and it's time to start previewing the third round of the playoffs, and that amounts to two series. So this is the first of two. Of course, this one will be out today, the next one will be out tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Florida Panthers is our matchup in the Eastern Conference. Now, the cool thing about this year is that half of the teams in this year's Stanley Cup final have not won a Stanley Cup, and the ones who have, being Carolina and Dallas. Carolina hasn't won since 2006. Dallas hasn't won since 1999. So we're gonna see a team here that hasn't won a Stanley Cup in a long time win the Stanley Cup. So that's something very cool to see, honestly. And I think it's good for the game as well. Seeing the same teams like Chicago, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh win every single year, seeing a few different Stanley Cup champions hopefully amount over this century. Decade is looking pretty good so far. You got Colorado already, and now you're going to get another team. So I definitely like that overall. But anyways, we're getting too far ahead of ourselves. Hurricanes versus Panthers. Let's get into it. So the Hurricanes were a team that you could say, yeah, I expected them to make it into the playoffs. I expected them to do well in the playoffs. Florida, not so much. So we'll start out with Carolina. They went 52-21, and 9 in the regular season for 113 points. They were the first seed in the Metropolitan, second seed in the conference. They beat the Islanders 4-2 in 6 games. Then they beat the Devils in a pretty lopsided series in 5 games. So overall, through the first 2 rounds, they did a very good job of themselves. I thought they played very competitive. They played well as a team. They just really played well overall through both of those series. And they've had a pretty dominant path, even though they weren't like sweeping teams. They still played really well in almost all the games right up until the conference finals. And then you got Florida on the other end. And Florida is surprising. And I'm going to say that because they played 2 teams that I actually betted for against Florida. So they beat both of them, and they did a very good job of beating both of them as well. They went 42, 32, and 8 in the regular season for 92 points. They beat Boston in the first round of one of the biggest upsets we've seen in a long time in 7 games. Then they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in what was a pretty dominant 5-game series. It was. There were a few overtimes in there, but I think Florida really had the upper hand through most of that series. They played really well. A big part of that is Bobrovsky, but we'll get into that in a second here. So yeah, 2 teams, both southern type different southern markets. They've definitely had their fair share of stars on each side. So we'll start out with the Hurricanes. Sebastian Aho is the first of the Hurricanes with 11 games played in this playoffs, has 5 goals, 5 assists for 10 points. Aho, this is no surprise. He's been playing at a really good level. And overall, as you can tell, they have a lot of players that are really around the same spot when it comes to points. It was the same thing in the regular season, and it goes to show, like, they're very well coached and they're very well, like a team, like they play all as a team. So that's definitely something you got to take into consideration if you're the Florida Panthers. On the other end, you got Matthew Tkachuk, who has literally had a fire under his ass, it feels like, for this entire playoffs. Tkachuk, 12 games played, 5 goals, 11 assists for 16 points. I thought one of the famous quotes that he had after the second round win was saying, "We don't care what anybody thinks about us," which is absolutely amazing. I, for one, have really enjoyed this Florida run. I've liked watching them go on this journey to the conference finals now, and it's the first time I've seen them go this far ever, and I'm all for it. I really love seeing this team do well, 100%. So I like it as a whole. But Tkachuk, solid player, has been playing really well in this year's playoffs. Many would argue that he's been carrying the Panthers. I don't know about that necessarily. There's some other players in the Panthers who have played really well. But yeah, Tkachuk has played a big role in why they are in the third round. You look at the other side. The secondary star is Jordan Martinook for the Carolina Hurricanes. And this goes back to my point that I made in the first 2 rounds when I previewed this team, was saying that, they don't need like a one specific superstar to rise above everybody else and score, like, even though it's not the case. For example, Matthew Tkachuk. You have a guy like Martinook, who literally is like a third-line player, or not even, who's like a fourth-line player, on pretty much any of these other teams that are in the playoffs right now. But Martinook just playing really well with Carolina. It just seems to click. 11 games played, 3 goals, 7 assists for 10 points. He had 10 points in 4 games, unreal. Just like playing at a really good rate, just been playing amazing hockey and really ignited it in the second round, absolutely. Then you got Carter Verhaeghe on the other end, who is an overtime hero. 12 games played, 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points. Verhaeghe's one of those dangerous short type like players that has a lot of speed to him. He's very dangerous. You got to watch out for him out there on the ice because he will get past you and he will put one past you, 100%. But yeah, Verhaeghe has played really well in this series, and in the past 2 rounds as well. And I think he'll be keep being that clutch player, as we progress. You got Jesper Fast then as the third scorer there for Carolina. He played 11 games, had 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points. Jesper Fast, solid player. Again, another one of those guys where if you put him on any of the other playoff teams, he's probably a bottom 6 forward. Genuinely, he's a really good, fast, one of those guys you can't miss. He is really good out there for Carolina for sure, and it goes to show again how good they are like all around. They're so unbelievably deep, and I give that them over Florida. On the other side there, you got Alexander Barkov. Brandon Montour was the third leading scorer, but I wanted to bring Barkov in here, give him a shout out. 12 games played, 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points. Of course, Barkov's known for his good defensive style, and he's played a big role in why the Panthers didn't let up many goals against Bobrovsky in this year's playoffs or in this playoffs at all. So he's played really well. But for both sides of the team, for both sides of this series, there's really a lot of players you can give shout outs to, like Stefan Noasin and guys like Paul Stastny as well. Have been guys who have really sparked out to me. And the fact that Carolina's doing all of this without Andrei Svechnikov, too, is unbelievable. And as well as that, too, Teuvo Teravainen, it's looking like he very well could come back soon. There is a possibility. It looked like he wasn't actually going to come back for the rest of the playoffs, at least I thought, but now he's had some positive news from doctors, and he's on the ice now. So he might be back before this series is even over. But yeah, that's definitely good news for Carolina. On the other end, you got like guys like Nick Cousins, like Zach Dalp as well, Sam Reinhart. Like you got guys in there, Radko Gudas too. Like there's so many guys on Florida, and they're the amazing story of this year's playoffs. And honestly, of these 4 teams that are in it right now, I would love to see any of them win a Stanley Cup. But honestly, Florida with their story, I kind of want to see them win it the most, even though I've been banking on Carolina for the past couple of years. I think I had either Edmonton or Carolina as my 2 teams there that I thought would win a cup this year, and I honestly do think Carolina has a good shot, but don't count Florida out. Definitely not. I'm not counting Florida out whatsoever. Now, goaltending. I think Carolina, even though Bobrovsky's been really good, still has the advantage over Florida, mainly because of the amount of goalies they have. They got guys like Antti Raanta, who played for the majority of the first round, and I think he got hurt, so I think that's over. But Anderson came in, has played really well. He has a 5-0-0 record through 6 games, played a 1.80 goals against average and a .931 save percentage. Played really well down the stretch. But you also got guys there, too, like Pyotr Kochetkov. So, yeah, they just have a really deep goaltending core. For Florida, though, they've been relying on vintage Sergei Bobrovsky to really carry them through this year's playoffs, and he definitely has, 100%. Bobrovsky, 10 games played, a 7-2-0 record, a 2.82 goals against average, and a .918 save percentage. Played really well for Florida, especially in those last couple of games. And I even saw some like stat lines too, saying that like he would lose 10 to 15 pounds a game due to all the water he drinks, which goes to show that goalies are just a different breed. Like we say hockey players are a different breed, but goalies, man, they're even crazier. We'll move on from all the players and all that, go by the game-by-game record. So the first game was November 9th, and that was a 3-0 win for the Florida Panthers. The next game was December 30th. That was a 4-0 win for the Carolina Hurricanes. And then the most recent contest was April 13th, where the Hurricanes won 6-4 in a very high-scoring, very physical game. And I'm very intrigued to see where this series is going to go. Now, for my prediction, honestly, people might not like this, but I think this series – and I think this entire playoffs could really go anywhere. I think any of these 4 teams are set to winning a Stanley Cup. Last year, you can make your picks of, oh yeah, they could win a cup. They're definitely going to come close. This year, it's really undisputed. I've seen multiple people say from multiple different sides. I honestly do think that Florida, though, will take this series in 7. I think the overall story from Florida, the overall momentum's on Florida's side. I just think that Florida has played a really good, well-fought series, well-fought playoffs, and I think they'll take that to Carolina. It won't be easy. It'll be a very close series. It might be boring at times, maybe some low-scoring games, but I definitely think that it could be an exciting series nonetheless. But I could also see it going the other way. I could see Carolina winning it. I could see Florida winning in 4. I could see Carolina winning in 4. Honestly, this series, all it takes is one shift, and this series could go one way for a team, 100%. And it's going to be hard to gain that momentum back, especially in these two high-flying Southern markets. So yeah, let me know your prediction on who's going to win this series in the comments down below. Thank you all very much for watching. For all ever supported later, really do appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe down below if you are new. Again, the Stars versus Golden Knights preview. The second time I'm doing that type of preview on this channel. The first time was in my first year doing this. We'll be out tomorrow. But anyways, thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.